Guys, I'm freaking out. I'm seeing reports on Facebook that somebody has risen from the dead.
Is it Vincent Price?
No. It's some guy named Jeebus Christ. Apparently this happens like every year. People are like celebrating it for some reason. I'm freaking out, guys. Somebody has come back from the dead and they're going to be out for brains.
Well, this dude in like a bunny suit was banging on my windows like really late last night, and he had like a fucking basket in his hand and like a cleaver in his other hand. And
you should let that guy in.
Yeah.
Time to fuck.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Oh, another update. Apparently everybody wants this guy's blood.
Another update. I just got Zach's text about, can we start a little later so I can make pancakes?
Oh, I made delicious pancakes.
Well, why don't you pancake your ass out of here? Oh.
If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see the wonderful assortment of pancakes I made. Blueberry pancakes, gentlemen. So good. All right. Happy Easter, everybody. We are recording this on Easter morning. If we had planned this better, we probably would have done an episode on creepy Easter bunnies, but we didn't. And it would have come out like a week ago.
In a way, this is like church.
It is day. I forget what day during this crazy quarantine, but we're surviving. And we're doing another retrospective today.
Well, Zach, Easter is typically on Sunday.
Yeah, I forgot what... He's talking about Easter, and then he forgets what day it is. It's interesting, Zach. Interesting. Did you get any quarantine head injuries?
I said what day of the quarantine. I know what day of the week it is.
Oh,
okay,
500.
Good.
Yeah, it's
500,000. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, the safer at home order was extended like another month out here in LA. I think it was pretty much everywhere else. So
yeah, so we're looking at mid-May. I really miss malls.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that downer note, we have a fun episode lined up.
Thanks, Zach. Fuck.
So the one cool thing is it pertains to another miserable podcast is that we have as much time as we want to watch horror movies on any streaming service. So that means you get another retrospective episode today, right now.
Rah! Yes, 1988 as chosen by me. That's Casey at Lucha Gringo. Thanks for the intro, Zach, you dick.
I haven't gotten there yet.
It's a really long intro.
I marathoned all these movies back
This is
to
like
back.
Fucking Mandy with how long it takes for the title card to pop up. Shit.
Welcome to another miserable podcast, the only horror podcast about horror movies recorded in my bedroom.
We're not all in his bedroom.
They're not all.
Yeah, guys, it sucks that because of quarantine, we all have to do this over Skype now.
Yeah, it's terrible turn
It's not
of
the
events.
same. It's not the same as it used to be.
We are not actually using Skype, just to clarify. To all our new listeners, I really appreciate you listening to our early episodes. That's awesome. Just bear in mind, our audio is not set up then. So if you jump to one of those episodes first, please don't judge us based in those episodes. We are still
Judge Zach.
working.
Zach's the producer.
It
so
took
judge
about
him.
9 episodes for us to come to the current situation we're in, where the audio is awesome.
And we're on episode 10 right now. No, aren't we on like 20, 25?
This is 20, yeah, 24.
If you're the kind of person that discovers a podcast and then goes back and listens to like the first episode, I don't know. I think that's weird.
I do it sometimes. It depends on the podcast.
Unless it's like, unless it's like a, like a marathon type podcast. But no, don't do that.
I've got a very boring job for 10 hours a day. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so sometimes I
respect the listening habits of all our viewers here. So do you just keep in mind that our audio has improved vastly from that first episode.
You do you.
Yeah,
When it comes to our podcast, you do you.
Yeah, check out our retrospectives, though. They're fun. We're proud of them. We put a lot of work into them. It's good times.
Anyway, joining me today, as always, are my two wonderful co-hosts.
Oh, it's about fucking time.
The Doctor Who from Little Lock, the Colossus of Criterion, Kris Pistol.
Ooh, you know me so well, Zach. You give me all the good nicknames.
I'm gonna have to give myself nicknames after I gave him so much shit.
And joining us.
Oh, I'll take over,
Also-
Zach, because your nicknames are gonna be asshole nicknames.
Okay.
So joining you is El Super Niño, Professor Casey. Casey the Terrible, what's up? You can just call me Casey. Hi, I'm your friend. What's up?
I was just going to continue with the Babe Ruth nicknames and call you the Great Hambino, but
Part of me is called the Great Hambino. At Lucha Gringo, thank you. Follow me.
and my name is Zach. I host and edit this sucker. And yeah, we're going to talk about some horror movies today, specifically horror movies from 1988. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a fun show. I hope you're having a wonderful Easter. Obviously, it's past by the time you're listening to this, but I hope you had a wonderful Easter. So if you've never
1988.
listened to... Yes,
A
1988.
much better year
Yes.
than the last episode we chose.
Yes.
All I'm saying is we've got a half dozen huevos for all of you listening right now. 'cause there's
What was
three
the
of
year
us.
we did last time? Was that 1993?
1993 is the year I
Ooh,
picked.
1993. We had to dig through the garbage.
Yeah,
did.
that movie sucked. Oh God, Zach, you fucked us with that one.
1988 was like a basket of diamonds, though. Just
It
pick
was
those
hard
jewels
to
out of there.
pick. It was really hard to pick, and I actually picked some shittier movies for entertainment value of our listeners. So
I feel like that's your MO now, Casey, though.
At least one. I don't know though. Like legit Slumber Party. No, what was it? It was Sleepaway Camp 2. That was actually a mistake on my part.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, what we do, if you've never heard one of our retrospective episodes, it's called Another Miserable Retrospective. What we do is we pick 9 horror movies from a year. We each pick 3. We kind of do it draft style, so it's fair. And we kind of try and showcase films that aren't as well-known. We'll pick a couple more well-known items, but then we also pick some films that you might not have heard of. So you're going to not hear, like, if you go to 1988 and you look at the horror movies in 1988, chances are we're not going to talk about most of them in this episode, which hurts me because, like, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the 1988 remake of The Blob, to my absolute favorite horror
There's
movies.
like 50 other podcasts you can listen to hear about the
Yeah.
plot.
So we're not talking about those today, which hurts my soul. But we are going to showcase some horror movies that you might not have heard of that deserve the spotlight as well. And that's really what the purpose of this series is to shed light on.
My first pick is The Blob. Not
Psych!
really.
Psych! No.
Okay, just on that note, I did
Yeah.
do Elm Street 3 in a previous episode. It's one of my favorite fucking movies. I could not skip that because it
and I
had
did the
a profound
Monster
effect
Squad
on
in
my
that same
life.
episode. So
Yeah,
we-
they both. If they have a profound effect on our lives, we might pick a more better known one. But otherwise,
Well,
we're getting
Killer
into weird
Klowns from
shit.
Outer Space has had a profound effect on my life, but I'm stretching myself with this episode. The way this works is it's split into 3 rounds, so each round will have 3 horror movies. We kind of turn it into a bit of a competition. We sort of pitch our films to each other. At the end of the round, we vote on the film we most want to watch, whether we've seen it or not. And then there's a winner of that round. It goes on for 3 rounds. At the end of the 3rd round, a overall winner is selected, and that person gets to choose the next year. So I hope that makes sense.
I've gone
it's
south
very
side.
complicated. I think War Games is easier to follow. Fuck.
So
And when do we enter the match beyond, Zach?
So 9 horror movies in total, 3 rounds. Each round has 3 horror movies. We pitch the movies to each other. We vote on the movie we want
And
to
then
watch.
it's submit or surrender.
Yes, and at the end of all 3 rounds, an overall winner is determined. And we might even add something else to the mix. So we'll see that at the end of the show here.
Explosions.
Okay, gentlemen, let the games begin.
Welcome to another miserable retrospective. Round 1.
Now, I follow a lot of you guys on Twitter that are listening to this podcast. If not, follow me. I'll follow you back at Lucha Gringo. But I never see anyone talking about this movie, and that's a goddamn crime. I'm going to assume a lot of you in the audience and my co-hosts here have seen Battle Royale. Yes, Japanese
Yes.
movie. Keiji
Yes.
Fukasaku, fucking masterpiece. Okay, one of my favorite things about Battle Royale, and it's kind of stolen from a lot of other movies like Running Man and shit like that. Just follow the Battle Royale version with me. So you guys know the collars in Battle Royale that explode and kind of kill you if you get out of a certain area. We've seen it in Battle Royale, we've seen it in Wedlock, we've seen variations of it in Running Man. Well, one thing that we've never seen until now is one of those motherfuckers strapped to somebody's dick. And that dick belongs to one of the people that I respect most in this world. George Roderick Toombs, also known as Rowdy Roddy Piper. The movie I would like to speak to you about right now is called Hell Comes to Frogtown. Now, I pose a question. Have either of you guys seen this movie yet?
I have not.
I have not, but I have seen the wonderful Blu-ray case that you got from at Monsterpalooza.
Oh yeah, that was from
It's not Severin, is it?
it was from Vinegar Syndrome. There we go.
Oh,
Yes,
very nice.
I was blanking for a second.
I have
So,
one question,
yes,
Casey.
Yes.
How many frogs are we talking about?
A lot of frogs. A lot of
shit.
frogs. Some of the frogs look better than other frogs, though. Some of them are clearly like people in like beekeeper outfits, and they just never show the frog parts. It's kind of weird. But so this is available on an absolutely beautiful Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome, or you can watch it right now for $0 on Tubi TV. So
Hey.
all of my picks actually today are going to be available on Tubi for free. Every single last one. So this is a New World Pictures release. 2 of my films this week are going to be New World Pictures releases. That is an immediate sign of quality for those of you that don't know. But basically, this is a post-apocalyptic world where the humans have a matriarchal society, but they still need to fuck. So they find a guy who likes to fuck a lot. Very, very potent man, played by Rowdy Roddy Piper. And he's actually like really funny and charming in this movie, and I think he kind of uplifts the movie in this role, because like if you got like the annoying dude from Deathstalker, like no one would want to watch this movie. They'd be like, this guy's fucking annoying, we're done. But Rowdy Roddy Piper brings a lot to this role as the guy whose job is to fuck and save people from frogs. And he almost fucks a frog. Good times. So yeah, humans are kind of at war with mutated frog people, and they actually look pretty good. Steve Wang did the effects in this one.
Okay.
You might know him from the Gill Man in Monster Squad.
Yes.
You might know him from the Guyver films. He is great at doing amazing sculptures of monsters and really cool designs at a budget. Some of the frogs look better than others. Like I said, some you don't even see the frogginess. You just see a person covered head to toe in kind of like our coronavirus fatigues whenever we're supposed to leave the house, but they ribbit a couple times so we know they're a frog. Most of the time, though, you get a pretty intricate frog makeup. You get some puppetry in there. And this is a couple years before Henson did the Ninja Turtles movies, but some of these frogs...
Wow.
They could be like the Genghis frog and Napoleon Bona frog in a Ninja Turtles movie and pass. Like, they're pretty good.
I'm doing a Google image search and I'm frightened. I'm seeing
They're pretty
I'm seeing
slimy.
a frogman holding a chainsaw, and I am disturbed.
Oh, yeah. Glad you mentioned the frogman with the chainsaw. He's trying to cut off Roddy Piper's dick. I can hype this movie. I can tell you how much I like it. The effects are great. Piper's great. You get some good action scenes.
I'm getting kind of Super Mario Brothers movie vibes from some of these frogs.
Yeah.
Like kind of Goomba-ish.
No, this is actually a good movie. I really enjoyed this film. It's fun. Most of the comedy lands, which is a lot to say in a New World Pictures release. We'll talk about that later. And I can't recommend it enough. And a lot of people haven't seen it. Despite when I was growing up, this shit was on cable like every 2 days. So I have seen this before, but it's been a long time. Roddy Piper's main love interest is played by Conan the Barbarian Sandal Bergman, who seems completely wrong for the role until she has to dance, because she's a classically trained dancer. So she has to do the dance of the 3 snakes for one of the frogs, and it's called that because this frog has 3 dicks. So if you want to see a movie with a frogman with 3 dicks, with Rowdy Roddy Piper with a bomb strapped to his dick, watch Hell Comes to Frogtown. It doesn't have dick anywhere in the title, but they should have clued everyone in.
This movie looks like a literal nightmare. Like, it looks like someone had a nightmare in which a frog person with like a real frog head was trying to cut off Rowdy with 3 dicks was trying to cut off Rowdy Roddy Piper's dick with a chainsaw, and then they woke up from that nightmare and said, "I must make this a reality."
Yeah,
Casey, I think we need a counter for any time you mention a phallus in an episode, because you mention that the male member more often than anything
this is a very important plot point of this. The entire plot of this
Not
movie,
that there's anything wrong with that.
the entire plot of this movie revolves around Rowdy Roddy Piper's dick. And Rowdy Roddy Piper's dick, probably decent hog. You know, he's a pretty confident guy. It's probably pretty huge. He's got that BDE, you know what I mean? That stands for big dick energy for you people that don't know. But now you do. You're welcome.
This is... I'm just gonna zone out everything you just said. This was made before They Live, right? It came out at the beginning of 1988, and I think They Live came out towards the tail end of 1988.
I don't know if it was made before, but it
came
definitely...
out before.
Yeah, it came out before. Both were shot during the time where he was on his retirement, post WrestleMania 3, pre WrestleMania 6, and yeah, dude, I love Rowdy Roddy Piper, man.
So it's
his
possible
death
John
bummed
Carpenter
me out.
saw
Like,
this movie and was like, "I must have him."
I hope so, but I think they were both in production like right at the same time. This didn't take much, and it wasn't very expensive, and a lot of it shot at Vasquez Rocks, California landmark, not too far from us right now. Well, Kris, you're really far, but me and Zach.
slightly far.
88 was a good year for Rowdy. All right, so that was Hell Comes to Frogtown. The first pick is in by Mr. Casey.
Yes.
All right, Kris, you want to go next, my friend?
I shall go next. Guys, this is a movie I discovered a few years ago that I had actually not heard of. And this is the first time I've watched it since a few years ago. And the first time I watched it, this movie blew my mind. Much like the main character's mind gets blown, slightly literally,
All right.
at the end of this movie. This is Brain Damage, directed
Oh,
by
dude.
Frank Henenlotter. I'm guessing you've seen this too, Zach.
I actually have not seen this, but it's very high on my list. I know.
Dude, it's on Shudder. Give it a watch.
I know.
It's like a watch at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're hyped up on sugary beverages and junk food type movie. Probably don't eat spaghetti while you watch this movie. You will probably lose
Probably
your
nothing
appetite.
with sauce. Yeah.
So this is a movie about a guy named Brian. We don't really know hardly anything about Brian throughout this entire movie. He's just a guy. You know, he lives in an apartment with a friend. You know, he's got a girlfriend. You know, one day he wakes up and there's blood on the back of his neck. That's kind of weird. And then he goes into the bathroom and discovers this leech-like turd-looking alien fucking thing is just chilling in there.
Good description.
It looks like someone, dipped a giant, like, the world's biggest turd and just, like, dipped it in neon paint. Mm-hmm. And then it talks, so it has a face. And he sounds kind of like, he kind of sounds like the snowman from the Rankin Bass reindeer.
Bumble.
Bumble.
Right? Yes, Bumble, the abominable snowman.
No. I mean,
Oh, you mean Frosty?
No. The snowman with the goatee.
This is from Frank Henenlotter, right? Did Basket Case and
Yes. This is directed by Frank Henenlotter, who did Basket Case, probably his most well-known movie. I like this movie more than Basket Case. I just think it's a little bit more creative. I don't know. It's just probably more bizarre.
That's actually a really hard choice for me to make.
Yeah. I first heard about Frank Henenlotter as described as like a B version of David Cronenberg. Mm-hmm. And that's fairly accurate because this movie does have like some subtext of what it's about. So this creature, his name is Aylmer. He sounds like I said. He has this nice, very just like gentlemanly voice. Talks like this. Hi, Brian. Why don't you just put me on the back of your neck? So So he gets put on the back. Brian's like, okay, fine. He puts him on the back of his neck, and then he inserts this blue liquid into his brain that basically gets Brian high and allows Brian to hallucinate and see all these like wild colors. It's like it opens up another sense into his memory. So Brian gets addicted to this chemical, and while he's out partying and high on life and high on this chemical, he can't remember anything that happens, and all of a sudden discovers that there's like extra blood on him when he comes home. So Aylmer seems to be, which is weird because as friendly and as inviting as Aylmer looks, it's very clear that he is a lot more nefarious than he lets on.
Those friendly neon turds, man. They always just stab you right in the back.
This movie is nuts. So there's a giant fucking leech that sounds like a nice friendly snowman, whom I'm trying to look up his voice and I can't.
I mean, what else would you expect a giant, leech to sound like?
Burl Ives. He sounds like Burl Ives. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, so upon watch, the first time I saw this, I thought this was amazing, just because I think the premise is so out there and so strange, and it is extremely entertaining and very, very gross as well. I just recently, I rewatched it, for this podcast, and it is a little slow, I think, at parts, which is funny because it's only about 80 minutes long. It's super, super short.
I've got one of those too.
But it does feel like there are certain areas where it's just there's just like some padding going on. You're kind of like, okay, get to the next scene. But it's totally worth it because it's a movie about a giant fucking turd that talks and eats brains.
It makes you earn that stuff. Is what it's
true,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to turn it off. You're definitely intrigued in knowing where it's going to go next.
That's a fun movie.
I would definitely, it's slightly flawed as this is, I would highly recommend it. I'd say people got to watch this movie.
Oh, and the Blu-ray you have is beautiful. That artwork, it's kind of
Yeah, I got this Blu-ray from Arrow. They released it a few years ago. Yeah, good stuff.
It's kind of got like a foil sort of sheen to it. If I recall correctly. Yeah, I've been eyeing that for a while. This is definitely up on my list. This is going to be a hard vote, guys. I'm just going to throw a mulligan here because no one's going to vote on my movie, so I'm going to pick my vote right now. And it's not shitty, but no one's going to vote for it because it's just not that interesting. Okay, so my pick, for the last pick of round one for 1988, it's a film called Scarecrows, directed by William Wesley.
Now, when we did the draft, I want to tell people how this worked. We did the draft, and Zach said, "I'm going to pick Scarecrows because I like Scarecrows." Actual quote.
Hey, I like Scarecrows.
I like Scarecrows. I think Scarecrows are an undertapped monster in the horror genre.
They're a lot better than a fucking mummy.
I feel you, Zach. I like Scarecrows.
Like a good Scarecrow movie. There's been plenty of Scarecrows.
Have you seen Night of the Scarecrow?
I'm trying to
That
remember.
one's actually really good. Even though Scarecrows...
The best Scarecrow movie.
When did that come out?
Scarecrows essentially... 80s, late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 89, 90?
81.
81? Oh, wow, it's older than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a made-for-TV movie.
But that doesn't keep it from being a little violent. But,
I mean, growing up, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, they all did Scarecrow shits.
Yeah. A Scarecrow's a leaf mummy, Zach. Go for it.
I like mummies, Casey. I like mummies.
Zach, there is a Doctor Who Scarecrow episode.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And they did scarecrows. They did gargoyle statues.
Yeah, they did all the creepy shit.
Nice. Okay, so this is Scarecrows, directed by William Wesley. If you haven't heard of that director before, it's because he didn't really do much else after this, at least directing-wise. It stars a bunch of unknown actors, pretty much, relatively unknown actors. I do get a kick out of one of the actors in this, who is cursing like a sailor throughout this movie. If you go on his IMDb credits, his first film is a movie called Zack, and it's like a Christian detective movie.
Is it spelled the same?
No, it's spelled Z-A-C-K.
Ah, damn.
But detective movie.
I'm not joking. Let me find this.
What
because
exactly
I
is a Christian detective?
I'm going to get you guys to want to see this movie way more than Scarecrow.
He's trying to find out who killed Jesus.
No, it's really weird. So the actor is Michael David Sims. He's probably the best part of the movie because he's really entertaining. It's called Zach, 1983. It says Zach is the story of a private investigator who, like many Christians, never considered the importance of a commitment to his own church. But Zach takes on an insurance investigation and in the process discovers a lot more than just a solution to the case. That sounds like the most exciting film ever made. The tagline is, what happened to Zach should happen to every Christian. I don't know. I just stumbled upon this and I was like, this is so weird.
Is there any? Are there like redeeming features of this Scarecrow movie? Do people get fucking wrecked by the Scarecrows?
They do. I mean, come on. It delivers on the Scarecrows. So the plot of this movie, back to Scarecrows, and not Zach, the Christian detective movie from 1983. Different Zach, not me. I did not star in a Christian detective movie in 1983.
That we know of. That we know of, Zach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what someone who starred in a Christian detective movie would tell us.
I bet this actor.
I was not alive yet.
Constantly.
So Scarecrows, 1988. It's about a group of thieves, criminals. They rob a military base, and they steal a kidnapper and hijack the pilot and his teenage daughter. We start on the plane. We kind of hear like this radio talking about the events. You don't see any of them robbing this military base. All of a sudden, one of the thieves turns on the others and says, "Screw you guys, I'm going home," and takes the money and jumps out of the plane.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What the hell, dude?" And they pretty much follow him down. He lands in this like haunted farm field with like a house, and there's scarecrows.
Which appears to be the largest field ever conceived.
It's just really dark. The whole movie is dark, so you don't really get a good view of everything, but you see scarecrows on like the little crosses.
But everyone gets lost in this fucking field for hours.
They do. There's about like 5. The helicopter eventually comes down, and that's where you hear the Michael David Sims and one of his partners, Bert, and he's like talking to this dude over the walkie. He's like, "Dude, I'm gonna fucking kill you. You stole the money, you piece of shit." And throughout like the first 40 minutes of the movie, he's just cursing this dude out over this walkie. And meanwhile, this dude is trying to find the money because he lost it, and then he stumbles into this house, and then he starts to see shit, and then that's when the Scarecrows eventually come out. It takes like 40 minutes for the Scarecrows to do anything. They look good. It delivers on the Scarecrows. Unfortunately, it delivers on the Scarecrows, I would say.
But why Scarecrows?
That's a good question.
And that's the question you'll be asking the entire movie.
There is explanation.
Well, you sit around asking where the fuck the Scarecrows are for the first 45 minutes of this movie, for sure.
Yeah. So the farmhouse, there's a picture of three gentlemen that used to live on this farm. And I think supposedly these Scarecrows are like haunted, possessed by these former farm owners who, I didn't pick this up from the movie, but according to Wiki, they were like Satanists or something, or at least one of the characters believes they were Satanists. So that's why they're coming to life. Anyway, the thieves...
I don't remember that.
I don't either, but it was on the Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's an explanation. Yeah, the problem with this movie is...
Wikipedia page written by the director.
None of the characters, really, besides Michael David Sims, are memorable at all. There's no protagonist. You think it would be the young daughter who kind of comes out of the plane and joins them. Mm-mm. But she has, like, no dialogue and no personality whatsoever. There's just... That's the problem with the movie, but... The Scarecrows are cool. There's some pretty gnarly death scenes, if that's what you seek out of a horror movie from the 80s, which, I mean, a lot of us do. One of the guys, the first guy that jumps out of the plane, not to spoil too much, is like kind of killed, and they like rip out his guts, and then they later like discover that money has been shoved into his body. The other interesting thing is that when people die in this movie, they come back as kind of like possessed zombies for some reason.
They get money or leaves stuffed up their ass until they become scarecrows. Well,
I mean, maybe that's what happens when
it's not
scarecrows kill people. You don't know.
They cut them open and stuff it in. It would have been so much more interesting if.
I hope I haven't been speaking too fast here, but yeah, this movie just kind of makes up its rules as it goes along. There isn't really a rhyme or reason.
You're definitely not matching the pace of this movie, Zach.
This movie it's only 83 minutes, but yeah, it's like I had to watch it in parts because I put it on too late. One night,
83-minute movie.
I couldn't make it through it.
That feels like 120 minutes before anything happens.
But the atmosphere is decent. Builds up tension okay. It's just you don't care about the characters, and the Scarecrows take too long to do anything. And then, like, the rules change. Like, there's one character who's, like, shooting at a Scarecrow with a gun, and it doesn't do anything. And he's like, the guns don't do anything. And then, like, 10 minutes later, one of the girls takes a shotgun to one of the Scarecrows, and it kills him. It's like,
Just need a bigger gun.
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, that's Scarecrows, 1988. It's not terrible. I gave it about 2.5 stars. It's just kind of boring.
Shit, I forgot to give a star rating to Hell Comes to Frogtown. 3.5
Lords of
stars.
Frogtown.
Frogtown gets 3.5 stars for me, by the way. Yeah, I gotta pick Brain Damage. That movie fucking rules. I would probably say watch that over Frogtown, but both need to be seen to be believed.
Well, Kris messaged me a picture of these Scarecrows from Doctor Who, and these actually look a lot cooler than the Scarecrows in this movie.
It's the best part of that episode. Yes, the scary Scarecrows.
Okay, so that was the end of round one. Let's get to the voting, guys.
We just both voted, Zach.
Wait, did you? I wasn't paying attention.
You were looking
Obviously, I chose Brain Damage, and I said that I might even choose that over Frogtown because both are must-see movies, though. For real. I think everyone should see both of those movies. Scarecrows,
I chose
no.
Frogtown.
Yeah, it's up to me then. This is a really tough one, actually. I do not know what to do. I'm legitimately torn here. I'm gonna go with Brain Damage.
You can always
Sorry,
flip a
Roddy.
coin, too. Yeah.
I've just
Thanks a lot, you pancake-eating bitch. All right. Okay.
Aylmer, thank you too.
Round two.
so Kris is the winner of round one. Let's go to round two.
Round 2, bitch.
All right, so I got something for you guys. Okay, I got back history in regards to this movie, for both our podcast listeners and listeners of other podcasts. You see, because I've talked about the subject a lot on a lot of other podcasts. I've been guest stars on podcasts. This is my 87th podcast appearance talking about this very thing. I want to introduce you guys to a filmmaker. His name is Godfrey Ho. Okay, so remember when we talked about Spookies? It was a lot of episodes ago, but we talked about how batshit crazy that movie was and how it didn't make sense because it was kind of like a half-finished movie with another movie added to it and melted together. All of Godfrey Ho's movies do this. He usually gets 2 incomplete movies. Sometimes he does 1 and just adds his own footage. And he makes a new movie out of it of dubious legality. Because he uses very copywritten music, like the theme from Star Wars, Tangerine Dream
movies.
And Pink Floyd show up. There's no way he got either of those bands to do his movies. But usually when I go on other podcasts, I talk about his ninja movies, like Ninja Terminator, must see.
Casey, I think every movie this man has made has the word ninja in the title.
Mine doesn't, because he did branch off and do some horror stuff once in a while.
My God, so many ninja movies.
So he'll get an unrelated movie and put it together with something else. So Ninja Terminator, pretty straightforward. He gets a kung fu movie, adds the ninja stuff to it. There's a ninja erotic thriller called Ninja the Protector, I believe, where he gets a half-made Basic Instinct clone, adds ninjas to it, magic happens. But this Robo Vampire, he gets 2 movies. He gets a kung fu movie featuring Zhang Qi, the hopping vampires from Chinese mythology, who I fucking love. You can see him in a lot of kung fu movies. I highly recommend Shaolin vs. Evil Dead if you want to get a cool Zhang Qi movie. But he gets a Zhang Qi movie. He gets a army movie about drugs being smuggled. And he puts them together by creating a RoboCop-like character to fight the vampires. Now, the vampires, they're not strong enough. They have to make a super vampire. So they make a super vampire who hops around in a gorilla mask and fights the Robo vampire. Well, he's not really a vampire. He's basically RoboCop, but he's a soldier. So, this movie's terrible, but it's a must-see. And I think everyone needs to be introduced to the work of Godfrey Ho just to see how little things make sense, but how happy you are watching the whole thing.
Sounds like
also
a fake movie they watch on Community, The Kick Puncher.
I have a feeling that they watched a lot of Godfrey Ho before they came up with that. Dan Harmon seems like the kind of guy that's seen every Godfrey Ho movie. We can smell our own. I haven't seen everyone. New ones pop up all the time. It's fucking weird because this movie has fake credits, but you can tell it's Godfrey Ho because it sucks in a certain way. Now, this robotic man, I sent Zach a picture. It's he looks like he's made out of, you know, like those really shitty car shades that are like a circle shape and have like reflection on one side, like a reflective material. He looks like he's made out of about 10 of those, just kind of sewed together. So his robot costume is very fabric based, silver shiny fabric. He looks like he might be also made out of like a dollar store kitchen aisle or something like that. It's absolutely tremendous. He fights the hopping vampires with machine guns, and then eventually he busts out some kung fu of his own. This is actually a series
I see what you're talking about, Casey. It's like aluminum foil or something.
Yeah, it looks a little different when it's moving. Like, it's not actually tinfoil. It's a little duller than that, but it's definitely like some kind of fabric.
It's definitely not as cool as the poster makes it look like.
No, because the poster... Look, I can talk about how bad this movie is and still awesome at the same time. I can talk about Godfrey Ho for days. If you want more background on Godfrey Ho, I urge you to listen to the Bad Movie Night podcast. It's NITE. I did an episode on there where I guest hosted with some of my friends. Talked about Godfrey Ho in depth for like an hour. I'm not going to do that here. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to your Google machine. I want you to put in Robo Vampire, and I want you to see the cover art of this film. And it will sell you on this more than anything I can say, because words do not do it justice. But while this is like 2-star movie at best, I consider it essential viewing for everyone, because you all need to learn more about Godfrey Ho. The man is the shit. Check this out. Check Ninja Terminator out. Check out Ninja the Protector. I can give you a whole list. Half of them have Ninja in the title. It's good times.
All right. The cover art is majestic, to say the least. It's pretty phenomenal. All right. That was Robo Vampire. Kris, you are next, man.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about a movie that's probably the exact opposite of Robo Vampire.
Most movies are.
This movie has no robo, no robots, or no robos, no robos, and no vampires. All it has is a missing person.
That's mysterious.
Is this person a ninja?
So this is sadly no. So this is a French movie directed by, I'm probably going to get this name wrong, but I think it's Georges Sluzier. It looks like it's pronounced Sluzer.
Yeah, I've never been able to pronounce it properly.
But I believe he's French, so it's probably like Georges Sluzier. Anyway, so this is a movie called The Vanishing, and it is pretty cut and dry. But how this movie is intriguing is how it's really structured. Mm-hmm. I've just been informed that this movie is Dutch, not French.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know my languages, apparently.
I know fuck all about French films. I mean, about Dutch films. So.
Well, it's essentially about a Dutch couple who are on holiday in France. So the movie does take place in France, so that's why I probably mistook it. But it's about a Dutch couple who is on their holiday in France. A few minutes to get to know this couple. They're very, very likable. It's a guy named Rex and his girlfriend, and they stop and she goes into a gas station to just get a Coke and never comes back. And there's this great sequence where it's this mounting tension of like, it's like, why hasn't she come back? And then he goes in the store, looks for her, she's not there. He comes back out, writes a note in his car, I'm looking for you, walks around for a little bit, and there's like no music, you just feel that like creeping sensation of like, just get that like tense feeling, that feeling of anxiety of when you just like can't find somebody and you feel like something terrible might be happening, and it just starts to mount. It becomes clear that this person is completely gone, completely vanished. And then the movie completely switches gears, and you start to see the guy who, it's clear that this is the person who has taken her, and you start to see him like build up of how he started, why he started abducting people, showing just like his process of how he thought about doing it, how he tried to trick people into getting into his car, and it's sort of like builds. It sort of does this like Tarantino sort of style of cutting where you see one thing and then you go back and you like build up to what you've just seen. And it's pretty fascinating. I don't know exactly how scary this is because it doesn't feel like a normal horror movie. It kind of just feels more like...
I'd say there's some pretty scary graveyard stuff, right? I've only seen the remake, but he made his own remake.
Okay. Yeah. So I haven't seen the remake. Yeah, the remake has Jeff Bridges and
Kiefer
Sutherland. Yeah. I'd be interested to actually see it. I don't think there's like hardly any graveyard stuff.
God, I could have sworn there was a whole thing about people getting like buried alive or something.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything for the movie, but maybe. Yeah, maybe they like try to play up the horror a little bit more in the remake. Because
it's been a very long time since I've seen it. It was another one of those movies that was on cable constantly when I was a teenager.
This movie is very much about just the kind of existential fear, and then there's a lot of like conversations about this guy being a sociopath and why he does what he does, and it's just that sort of like creeping feeling of like, oh god, this could really happen. Like people like this exist, and it's pretty fucking disturbing.
And it's kind of like every psychological thriller in the 90s ripped this movie off in 88.
Yeah. This feels very, very influential. Like, it feels like a much more... Even though it came out in 88, it feels a lot more modern than movies that came out around this time. But it keeps you guessing the whole way through. I found it fascinating. So I definitely give it a recommend. I think I gave it 4 out of 5. It's on the I watched it on the Criterion channel.
I remember liking the remake. I don't think it's ever going to get a Criterion release, but I'd say that it was a solid 3 at that. Like,
yeah, it'd be interesting.
It's interesting. It was the same director
when it came out. Yeah, I think it was not well received when it came out. It's one of those. I think it was just one of those like reactions where critics saw it and were just like, "Oh, well, this didn't improve on the original at all. Why did you even?"
Yeah,
bother?
they're like, "Why does this exist? It's the same director, even."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
pretty much just to sell it to an American audience, I think.
It's weird because every time that gets offered to someone else, it like never happens. Like the most recent one I can think of is Gareth Edwards was offered to direct the English version of The Raid Redemption.
Yeah.
Like they were going to remake that.
The guy that did, was it The Grudge? Directed the remake of The Grudge.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, your favorite movie.
Not the new one. The 2003 one, which still wasn't fantastic, but it was much better than the new one. Holy hell.
Yeah, it seems like a thing where it was like remade specifically just to sell it to an American audience.
Yeah.
The Raid remake makes like absolutely no sense because that movie isn't about dialogue at all. Who cares if you have to read
like
subtitles
the perfect
for like
movie,
15
the way
minutes
it
of the
is.
movie?
Yeah.
All right, so that was The Vanishing.
I have it right here next to me, actually.
So my pick for this round, the second round, 1988. I'm going with a little film called Maniac Cop.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
This is directed.
Brought out the big guns.
I'm bringing out the big guns because I brought out the whippy gun last year. This is directed by William Lustig. He would go on to direct the sequels. He also directed a film called just Maniac from 1980, which you guys might have heard of. No relation to Maniac Cop. I just think that's funny.
He really likes the word maniac, okay?
Yeah. They did remake Maniac, Elijah Wood, I think it would have been a Spectravision.
And you know, that it's not that bad of a remake. The first one's dope. Like, it makes you feel like you need a fucking shower after you see the movie. It is grimy as fuck. But yeah, remake's pretty good too.
But back to Maniac Cop, perhaps most notably, this was written by B-movie maestro Larry Cohen, who did The Stuff. Yeah. Larry Cohen is a horror G. If you've not seen any Larry Cohen stuff, he did The Stuff, he did It's Alive, he wrote Cellular.
If you haven't seen King Cohen, see King Cohen, the documentary on him. It's fucking amazing. It's a wonderful documentary.
Yeah, and Larry Cohen also wrote the sequels to Maniac Cop, so that's reason enough to see it. So the pedigree's already there. And on top of all that, it stars Tom Atkins and Bruce Campbell. Like, it's a match made in heaven right there, guys. What else do I have to say? That's pretty much all. That's a mic drop right there. If you're a horror nerd.
Come on. Needs more Robert Zadar.
I will say, mostly, though, what I need you to talk a little bit more about this movie, Zach, because I think most of my memories are from Maniac Cop 2, because I watched both of these movies back to back.
Maniac Cop 2, superior film in every way.
I have not seen the
in my
sequel,
opinion.
so I'm actually new to this series. It's been one I've been meaning to get to.
It's the Paddington 2 of Maniac Cop movies.
Okay. Here's the one disappointing thing about Maniac Cop. Tom Atkins and Bruce Campbell are both in it. They're both fantastic, but they have like no scenes with each other, like maybe one. It's really disappointing.
Yeah. I'm sorry they didn't have the love scene you were looking for, Zach, but it's
I was
not
waiting
that kind
for
of
that.
movie.
Well, it's weird. It's like Tom Atkins is the protagonist for the first half of the movie, and then Bruce Campbell is the protagonist for like the last act of the movie, and it's sort of
Tom
strange.
Atkins, good man, likes to look at how masks are made and fuck. Good man.
It's
different
also,
movie.
It's also interesting to see Bruce Campbell not directed by Sam Raimi, and how like most of our perception of like Bruce Campbell as a person or as an actor comes from how Sam Raimi directs him, or how he at least performs in Sam Raimi movies.
He's so normal in this. It's like
it's clear though that they knew he was a big deal, because they like wait to pan on his face when he's introduced in that scene. It takes like a few minutes before they pan up and you're like, "Fuck yeah, Bruce Campbell!" Like I can just imagine audiences in theaters at times just like cheering their heads off like Avengers style when his face comes on the screen, because they're waiting to reveal his face. They knew he was a big deal because this was after Evil Dead 2.
I think it's because of the chin and the killer's chin. So they want to like show that it's a battle of the chins.
It's Bruce Campbell, man.
Is he pitted as like a red herring?
He is. So let me just give a brief description of the plot of this movie. As the name suggests, it is about a killer who is a police officer. I won't spoil everything.
Not a zombie yet in this one, which is why I like to. He's a zombie in 2, bro. He's a fucking zombie in 2.
So this is just a really solidly crafted slasher movie. It just does everything right. You just see the killer in silhouette for like the first 2/3 of the movie, and he just takes out a bunch of innocent bystanders pretty brutally. And Tom Atkins jumps on the case, and he immediately is like, "This guy's a cop. I know it. Just believe me. I'm Tom Atkins." And you're like, "Okay, of course, it's Tom Atkins. Of course we believe you."
Like, Tom, go look at some masks being made and fuck some more. Go on.
But they do create a really good mythos for like a Jason style mythos for the killer that's revealed midway through. When Bruce Campbell is revealed, he isn't initially the most likable character because he's immediately shown to be seen cheating on his wife, and then she is killed. That's a spoiler. Sorry.
Well, then he's not cheating anymore. See, freeze him up.
That's dark, Casey. But yeah, it's here where Atkins and Campbell have a few scenes together. I think Atkins maybe interrogates Campbell briefly, but he's like locked up, and then the killer strikes again, and they're like, "Okay, well, it couldn't be Bruce," but he's still kind of mistaken for him until like the end of the movie.
Because of the fucking chins.
Yes, the killer in this movie has a really big chin. He sort of He sort of reminded me of Adrian from The Mask when he has the mask on, like at the end of the movie, and he's like juiced up.
He is film legend, the late film legend Robert Zadar of Maniac Cop fame, basically, but also Samurai Cop, lots of other stuff. Saw him on an episode of Growing Pains once. You didn't see fucking Bruce Campbell on Growing Pains. You didn't see Tom Atkins on Growing Pains.
Yeah, you get the feeling Robert Zadar was specifically hired for this movie because his face looks like a glove. Like it looks like a catcher's mitt.
He has a genetic disorder known as cherubism.
Ooh.
Which it's supposed to make you look like a cute little chubby cheeked cherub, but no, it made him look like the Maniac.
It made him look like he's made out of wood.
He does. He walks like he has a stick up his ass, and I'm just waiting for him to like bonk people on the head with his fists, and he doesn't really do that. But he's really over the top, but he's intimidating for sure.
He uses guns. See, like usually you say guns in a slasher movie are fucking dumb and they don't work, but Maniac Cop makes that shit work. Maniac Cop 2 makes that shit work.
I'm gonna be bold, guys, and say I think the time is right for a Maniac Cop remake.
There already has been one very recently, actually.
What?
Yeah. Last 10 years.
Okay, well, I didn't hear about it.
Who was
so I
in
think
it?
we need to remake Maniac Cop again.
I don't remember, Zach. I'm not a fucking IMDb search engine.
It should be.
Oh God, it was in 2008. The worst time to remake Maniac Cop. Okay, that doesn't count.
Or is it the best time to remake Maniac Cop?
This looks like a straight to DVD movie. This doesn't count.
Anyway, back to Maniac Cop from 1988. This is a really fun film. There's some really excellent car chases towards the latter half of the movie. Not as good as the car chases in The Hidden, Kris, but they're good. It is my mission to get Kris to see The Hidden.
God, I have to see The Hidden or I won't be able to sleep.
I gotta say, you watch the car chases in Maniac Cop and you're worried that stuntmen died during filming, and it would be likely from the way that the film just looks and feels. This is a grimy fucking movie.
It is, yeah. Yeah, if anything, it kind of underutilizes Bruce Campbell a bit. This isn't Ash, so if you're going in expecting Ash and him to just blast away some deadites, this is not the same character. He's still Bruce Campbell, so he's still great, but he's not Ash. So he gets his ass kicked.
Oh, guys. Bruce Campbell could play the Maniac Cop in the remake.
He could,
Yeah,
actually.
Robert
by Jordan
Zadara,
Peele.
unfortunately, no longer with us.
But yeah, I guess this isn't really a spoiler. The killer isn't it's not like a reveal really who it is. It's just you find out he is a cop that he was incarcerated for police brutality, and he was attacked in prison by a bunch of inmates that he probably sent there initially, and he was pretty much left for dead and pronounced brain dead, but he wasn't dead.
You know what I just noticed is that this is the same makeup as Jason Takes Manhattan's shitty Jason face, basically.
Did they reuse it for Jason Takes Manhattan?
I wouldn't be surprised, because they both look like fucking shit. But Maniac Cop 2, tremendous movie.
Yeah.
I will say, what we're here to talk
they
about
could have given him a
today,
cooler name, Matthew Cordell. It's not that scary. It's no Jason Voorhees, Dude,
his name is Maniac Cop.
Then again, I guess Michael Myers isn't really a scary name when you first, if you had no connotation or attachment to, if you just heard the name Michael Myers, it's not scary.
Yeah, Michael Myers sounds like a superhero from the Marvel days.
Yeah. All right, that is Maniac Cop, and that is the end of round 1. It took us 15 minutes to get. Oh, that's the end of round 2. Okay. Yeah, holy crap. Okay.
Okay. So Kris, I'm sorry. Your movie is probably great, but Maniac Cop is one of those movies that I live for.
I can't argue with you.
Wow, So we have Maniac Cop, we have The Vanishing, and then we have Robo Vampire. So that's 1 vote for Maniac Cop. What say you, Kris?
I'm gonna have to also go for Maniac Cop.
Wow, really?
Damn good movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Mostly,
if we can make a Maniac Cop podcast from now on.
I feel like if I had seen Maniac Cop just by itself, I probably wouldn't feel as strong about it. But the fact that I watched Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2 back to back, they feel like one movie to me. So my memories, I think, are a little bit stronger because I'm just I'm remembering all the great stuff from both of them.
Oh, okay.
And two is goddamn amazing. And Maniac Cop 3 Badge of Silence, it's there.
I have not seen that one.
Well, my vote doesn't matter too much then, but this is tough too because I love a good mystery disappearance sort of film. The Vanishing certainly seems like it'd be up my alley. But I'm gonna show some love to Godfrey Ho for you, Casey. I'll give it to Robo Vampire.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Praise God. Free Ho. All right. Round 3.
Round 3.
Right.
Another miserable retrospective. 1988.
Round 3, bitches.
I am so excited to talk about this next movie with you guys because I feel like it's a movie that should get more love than it actually does. I never saw it when it originally came out. I first saw it on Netflix maybe 10 years ago, something like that, for the first time. And that is the horror action comedy known as Dead Heat, also a New World Pictures release, an instant sign of quality. You see that New World Pictures logo or a Canon logo, you know you're in for a treat. This movie, Dead Heat, stars Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams. Do not let that scare you away. Continue watching. They are buddy cops, and it starts off like a regular buddy cop movie, just really, really violent. They go to break up an armed robbery at a jewelry store, and they realize these guys that they're shooting the fuck out of aren't dying. So they end up hitting them with a car. They do a lot of research. kind of leads them to a company founded by Vincent Price, Kris.
No.
He's in this movie.
Holy
And
shit.
this company's doing some experiments on the dead that create zombies. Just so happens that Treat Williams is murdered and becomes a zombie himself. Okay? By using this research drug slash metamorphosis, okay? So now he's a cop that can't die. So he does a lot of Terminator gags, more or less. He gets shot a lot. He gets blown up. His body falls apart a little bit. He catches on fire. He gets kind of fucked up looking. But our big twist before we go into Act 3 is that he finds out that this formula has a shelf life and he's going to melt down in about an hour and die. So he's got to wrap everything up, even though he's in pretty bad shape at that point. So this is a unique look at zombie films. It gets a little slow at some points, but it's punctuated by extremely violent 80s action on par with a movie like Commando. You have Steve Johnson doing the effects. Dude's a legend. He's done so many movies that I'm blanking on all of them right now. But he's done a little bit of everything. He did Big Trouble in Little China. He did all the effects for that movie. So that's one that's entirely said to steal Zach's vote right now. And Vincent Price was said to steal Chris's vote. But both of those things really happened in this movie. And this was panned by the critics when it came out, but everyone I've told about it that's actually sat down and watched it says that it's a really fun movie and they had a good time watching it. So I would like you to have a good time as well.
This definitely Sorry.
Have you seen this movie at all?
I have not, but this definitely I definitely recognize the poster. I definitely feel like this is a movie I saw I saw the VHS box in the video store multiple times and just never watched for some reason.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I picked it up on Netflix when I did. I'm like, I've always heard of this movie. I remember reading a Mad Magazine parody of this movie. So I should actually watch the real thing, and I really enjoyed it.
Looks like it's got some decent makeup effects in it as well.
Definitely. Steve Johnson kills it. There's this meltdown scene in the movie that is worth the price of admission alone. Okay. And I can't figure out how they did one of the shots. Like there is a part where the person just starts melting and their face starts drooping unnaturally, and I can't exactly figure out how they did it. It is fucking movie magic and it's amazing. And the rest of that whole sequence is great until a little blue screen shot that fucking ruins everything at the end. But if you cut that out, you got a perfect sequence. Blame the visual effects people for that shit. Don't blame Steve Johnson. So yeah, check it out. It's on Tubi. It's on Amazon Prime. It'll cost you $0 if you watch it on Tubi. It's about 80-90 minutes. I give it a solid 3.5 stars. It's not anything that'll change your life, but it's a fucking good time to watch, and I recommend it for that purpose.
Sounds fun.
Nice. All right, Kris, you want to go, man?
Oh, fuck yes. Oh, God. Guys, I discovered this movie a few years ago, and it's become one of my favorite cult movies of all time. This is the British horror film based loosely on the Bram Stoker story of the same name. Director Ken Russell's The Lair of the White Worm. This movie is fucking bonkers.
This was actually Fangoria released a book on obscure horror movies that you have to see. And this was the cover of the book.
Nice.
Actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. When I discovered this movie, I just flipped. So it stars Peter Capaldi, young Peter Capaldi, way before Doctor Who, is a Scottish archaeologist student, and he's excavating, and he discovers this giant-looking serpent skull. And he thinks it might be linked to this legend of this local village where this giant serpent was defeated by the small town's recent lord. And the descendant of this lord is Hugh Grant, who lives in a giant fucking mansion in
A
the small
12-year-old
town.
Hugh Grant.
Yeah, baby Hugh Grant. I think this was his first movie, actually. Baby Hugh Grant. And so at the same time that this is happening, Hugh Grant's girlfriend basically also runs a bed and breakfast where this skull was discovered by Peter Capaldi. And at the same time, they're sort of just weeding through the mysterious disappearance of the girl's parents. At the same time, there is this woman named Lady Sylvia who seems to be this weird, kinky dominatrix woman.
Okay.
Who lives in a giant mansion, and she keeps luring people back to her mansion and then killing them with her snake fangs.
Yeah,
Oh.
She turns into a snake lady, Zach.
It does.
Okay.
She does.
I saw
yes.
some
And-
pictures. I was very intrigued.
Yes, it's very intriguing. And then she also like gives people visions of like giant snakes on the crucifix and nuns getting raped by Satanists and crazy fire and shit. It's fucking insane.
You know, there's no reason for her to give these people these visions other than the filmmaker just wanted to film that
Other
shit.
than Ken Russell demands it.
I don't think it's anything like this, but Google Images was giving me like 7 Faces of Dr. Low vibes.
No.
No,
This is like
Like that.
this is like Dr. Lowe on acid.
Okay.
this is like a Stuart Gordon movie without like guts and lumpy shit.
Yeah. This is like more of a like Stuart Gordon movie with less goo and more story, I would say, or more just like, what the hell?
And that movie is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah. One thing I like about this movie is that it's just like you like all the characters. Like Peter Capaldi and Hugh Grant are both just like really likable. Even though they're like wildly different people, they seem to like get on in a sort of like the movie almost feels like if it was a little bit longer or if there was like a sequel, then Hugh Grant and Peter Capaldi would like team up as like, you know, monster hunters or almost like buddy cops. And it really has that like feel of like a Doctor Who episode where the Doctor just doesn't show up, but it like all the other criteria completely checks out. There's like a mystery, people disappearing. There's a fucking monster. There's a villain who is like subservient to the monster. Oh, by the way, it turns out that Lady Sylvia may or may not be killing people to a giant fucking snake monster that lives underground.
Yeah.
And it's basically the snake monster is like a cosmic or a ancient demonic creature that she's making these sacrifices.
It's like they really go out of the way to say it's not a dragon, but
yeah.
it's a dragon. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a snake dragon.
yeah,
It's a demonic
kind of
snake
like
dragon.
The Conan the Barbarian stunt show at Universal Studios. The snake dragon in that, very similar,
Yeah.
at least in spirit.
But this movie moves. It keeps you guessing of what the fuck is going on. It's really funny in a lot of parts. The woman who plays Lady Sylvia is very entertaining to watch. It's just very creative. It's very out there. It's just a fucking great time. There's a part where Peter Capaldi plays a set of bagpipes to hypnotize the snake people. And it works. And he has to go put on a kilt because when you play the bagpipes, you have to put on a kilt.
Yeah, this ties into my Roddy Piper movie. This is good. We have a theme.
Yeah. It's super, super entertaining. I highly, highly recommend it.
Oh, tremendous. I watched it when Fangoria recommended it in that book, and it kind of blew me away. It's an awesome movie.
And there's a few
what
really
is it
gory
streaming
parts,
on right
which are a lot of fun.
Is it streaming on something right now?
It is. I watched it on Tubi.
Oh, nice. Tubi, giving you all the free shit this week.
It's true.
Yeah,
They have a
unfortunately,
lot of good free shit.
the movies that I mentioned so far are only available on like Vudu and maybe Amazon Prime, but you have to rent them.
Go on YouTube and you can watch all of Scarecrows.
Oh, really? Shit.
I definitely did not pay anything to see Scarecrows, so I think I saw it on YouTube.
Oh, man. Okay. So that was the Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah.
So my last pick. So I had to change courses here because my
I
initial
didn't make
choice-
one dick joke. I didn't make one dick joke that whole time. I hope you guys are proud of me.
Congratulations, Casey. You held it in. I'm proud of you.
Man, some shit is going down outside. I've just had ambulances and fire trucks drive by my house.
Oh no. There was a transformer that blew up at the Burbank Water and Power Plant yesterday.
I bet it was bitch ass Bumblebee. He fucking sucks.
I'm bewildered right now because it was storming all this morning, and then as soon as after we started the recording, the sun just came out. And it looked beautiful outside.
Okay, so my last pick, or another Miserable Retrospective, 1988, is a film called The Unnamable, because it has no name. No, it's literally called The Unnamable.
Or as I like to call it, The Unwatchable.
Uh-oh.
Have you seen it, Casey?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I've never seen this movie.
Oh, great.
I just wanted to have one of those reviews to my name. I thought it was, yeah.
Well, this film is another.
Is also on Tubi.
This is on Tubi. This one you can watch anywhere, and this one surprised me. It's another entry in that there's a monster locked in a cellar basement, and a bunch of kids or family or whatever unleash it. It's a Lovecraft adaptation. It's actually very similar plot-wise to Castle Freak, which is obviously also inspired by Lovecraft with Stuart Gordon. So it's about this kind of deformed creature was locked away centuries ago in the cellar of this mansion. And then years later, in 1988, a bunch of college kids disturb it, and they get, their asses handed to them. So this is an interesting movie. Plot-wise, it's very simple, but they put a really good cast together. The college kids, you have, your archetypes. You have a couple dumb jocks. There's a ditzy girl, mean girl, and the protagonist is kind of fawning over her when he shouldn't be. And then she has her friend who's actually really sweet and likes him, and he doesn't notice her right away. But the star of this show, without question, there's, every horror movie has this kind of know-it-all character, There's a character named Randolph Carter. Holy cow. This dude, he is the star of his own police procedural, detective show, and nobody around him knows it, but he knows it. He makes the most of every line. It's like he's reciting Shakespeare. I was telling Kris, it's like if you took a Doctor Who, maybe David Tennant's Doctor Who, and mixed him with Vizzini from Princess Bride and Sherlock Holmes, put it in the body of a college student, you get Randolph Carter. This dude needs to be the star of every fucking horror movie.
Whoa, the actor could not look more different now.
What is his name? I thought I wrote it down, but I do not see it here.
Mark Kinsey Stevenson.
Mark Kinsey Stevenson. He is phenomenal. Just every line, he has the most precise diction and enunciation. And his friend Howard, who's kind of the lead protagonist in the movie, is basically his own Watson, and it's just very good, Howard. We shall go. He's
I've got a treat for you, Zach. He's in the sequel.
He is the star of the sequel, The Unnamable 2, The Statement of Randolph Carter. That's how great he is.
Yeah, they did the same thing the Gate did, basically.
Yeah.
They got the more interesting sidekick character and gave them their own movie.
But yeah, he is on a vastly different level of playing than everyone else in this movie. He's just doing his own thing. He's cool-headed the whole time. And he's just
in the monster, if you saw that monster, you would shit your pants.
Yeah, basically what happens is there's Randolph Carter, his friend Howard, who's kind of the likable, hero of the movie. And there's their other friend, I think it's either Joel or Barry, I forget his name. They're sitting in the cemetery near this mansion, and Randolph Carter is telling him about this legend of this monster that he's heard about, that his ancestor wrote about, and he has proof of it, and he's very, very convincing in his argument. And his friend is the douchebag friend Joel is bullshit. I'm a man of science, and that's horse shit. And he's where is this house? And Randolph's well, Joel, the house is right over there. And Joel's oh shit, let's go over there and hang out there. And Carter's I ain't doing that shit. But I know not to meddle in those things, but by all means, my friend, go over there and say that. I'm gonna go back to the library and do my fucking work. And so he goes over there. He's fucking killed. But Howard is worried about him because he hasn't responded and he hasn't come back. And he's trying to get Carter to go over there. And Carter's Howard, if you want to go over there, by all means, my friend, go do it. But
kind of a shitty friend.
Yeah, but he's
'Cause
like,
I'd be like, Zach, don't fucking go there, you know?
but if what I believe is there, then he's fucking dead already. So we're better off not meddling in those affairs, Howard.
Yeah, just maybe call the police in the morning.
I swear, this guy is just so. He's just like, all right, Howard, we should go to my house first and get all the supplies before we get over there. We'll need it. You know, he just like everything is so precise, and he's
very on the spectrum.
He is, but in the best way possible.
Yes.
Yes. This is not bad acting. He's great.
No, he's consistently playing this character. Like
he's fantastic. Like
unless he's just that dude in real life.
I don't know, but I just wish I had seen him in more movies. So what happens is the girl that Howard likes and her friend end up being tricked by some jocks to go explore this mansion, unbeknownst to Howard and Carter, because the jocks are just trying to, have their way with them, essentially. The monster comes out. You don't see the monster until, like, the last act of the movie. It's kind of cloaked in darkness. You get close-up shots of its legs and feet, which are kind of hooves. It looks kind of ridiculous. It's kind of like...
Yeah,
It's like a bleach blonde centaur. Like, when you
see, okay, this
legs.
is what I don't get, right?
Yeah.
They're hiding the monster constantly throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Every single VHS box, every single poster,
has the
every
face of this
single
monster on
thumbnail has the fucking monster right up front. But
there are
that's the marketing.
There are some good death scenes. This monster is, scratches and claws and slashes throats, and it looks good.
Kind of bitey too. He's bitey.
It just when you do see close-ups on its face, it does that kind of like hands up claw thing, like that. Like that Nosferatu sort of pose, and it looks pretty silly. But
we call it the Ortiz in these parts, pal.
It gets good, and Randolph Carter happens upon his own Necronomicon in this movie, and is totally like cool-headed with it, and it's just like immediately like learns how to like open a door with the book, and he's like, "Oh, I like that spell."
Good times.
Yeah. I'm not gonna spoil everything, but it's it's a pretty standard plot. There isn't a whole lot of meat or bones on this film. It's called The Unnamable. The way the monster is destroyed is pretty lame, but
there's a sequel.
There is a sequel, which I really want to see. Randolph Carter is fantastic, and the guy who plays Howard is really terrific as well. It's a good time. I give it about 2.5 stars. It's better than Scarecrows. I enjoyed it. It's not gonna rock your socks, but the acting is more than passable for this type of movie, and there's some decent suspense. It's generally lit well and shot well. The monster's okay. That's The Unnamable.
The unwatchable. The unpickable.
It's hard. I watched another movie. So when we initially drafted this...
Yeah, Zach didn't respect the draft, you guys.
I did respect
so the audience is ready to hear.
So when we draft this movies, we tend to use a site called Letterboxd, which is kind of more comprehensive than IMDb. In a way, they have like every horror film listed in the box art.
And you guys can follow us all on there.
They have every classic Doctor Who serial registered.
Yeah, if you're not on Letterboxd, it's highly recommended. It's a great way to log the movies you've seen. Really wonderful database. Anyway, there was a movie called Alice on there. And I initially picked that because it looked like a really weird, messed up Alice in Wonderland adaptation, which it is. But it is not a horror movie, but it was listed under the horror genre. It is not there anymore. Like, someone was messing with me, and I just saw it with my own eyes, and it's not there anymore. But it was there.
Okay, we all also saw it. He's not hallucinating. Okay. It was in the horror.
It was obviously
section.
An error, and they removed it because I could not find it. It's like
this is not a horror movie.
But I'll just talk about it briefly because it's really entertaining and really weird. I know Kris has seen this. It's directed by Jan Svankmajer. I probably did not say that right at all.
Yeah, Czechoslovakian.
Yeah, he's mainly known for kind of his experimental short films. But this is one of his features, and it's an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. I watched an English dub of it. It is available on YouTube. And the entire film, besides the girl who plays Alice, who is live action, except for some moments where she's turned into a stop-motion doll, the entire film is stop-motion animation. This isn't Rankin Bass animation. It's not bright and colorful. This is gritty, dark. Wonderland pretty much is like a series of like rooms and corridors and closets in like a dilapidated house. And all the creatures are like these they're like half of them are like wind up dolls. Some of them have like skull masks and faces. They're like the white rabbit is super disturbing looking. Anytime it closes up on its face.
It sounds like this informed American McGee's Alice a little bit.
Maybe. The white rabbit is really odd looking and creepy anytime he opens his face. She just like follows him down this cupboard and like down this kind of weird like elevator shaft. And it's really creepy, but it's
I mostly remember everything being filled with sawdust.
Yeah, all the creatures are filled with sawdust. So like the white rabbit is constantly like he's pulling his like pocket watch like out of his chest, and he's like leaking sawdust. Every creature is like full of sawdust. There is a Mad Hatter.
This looks like the Tool video. Like
it's
for sober.
It's so weird. Yeah, Alice. You know, the scene in Alice in Wonderland where she's constantly shrinking and growing, that happens throughout the movie. But when she shrinks, she turns into like a creepy like a porcelain doll, and it's so weird. But I highly recommend it. It's really entertaining. There's not like a dull moment. You're just kind of glued to the screen. It's kind of narrated by whoever. It's supposed to be narrated by Alice, but it's not actually the girl that plays Alice, at least not in the dub version. The same person that's narrating it does the voice for all the characters, so there isn't a lot of distinction there.
Lots of close-ups on mouths.
Well,
lots
they
of
rolled
close-ups
out the
on
budget
mouths.
for that
But,
one.
yeah, that's Alice from 1988. That is not one of my choices, but I just wanted to mention it because it's super strange and entertaining. So, by Jan Spankmeyer. Anyway,
Spankmeyer.
Before we get to the voting, let me just do a quick social media plug here. If you haven't yet, please do follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitter at twitter.com/MPOSofficial. All our updates and whatnot go there. We also have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us there. Just search Another Miserable Podcast on YouTube. Or if you go to our Twitter page, you can just click the YouTube link at the top there. We're on pretty much every streaming platform: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We do about 2 episodes a month. With this quarantine, we might make that up to 3 just for this short period, just because we have the time to do it. But generally about 2 episodes a month. We really appreciate any support we can get. Yeah, we're on everything, so please follow us if you haven't yet. We really appreciate that. We also have a blog called miserablepilesecrets.com. So if you're wondering why our Twitter URL is MPOSofficial, that stands for Miserable Pile of Secrets. It's the blog that houses our podcast. We don't update it too much outside of stuff for the podcast itself, but there are some articles on there with some cool recommendations for like Shudder if you want to look that up. And that's miserablepilesecrets.com. All right, let's get to the voting, guys. Voting for round 3. So we have the Unnamable, we have Dead Heat, and we have the Lair, the White Worm. I have that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, who wants to vote first?
I think my mind's made up. I think I will have to go with Dead Heat, just because action and zombies sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
And it looks like just the fact that I was like, oh yeah, I remember this VHS cover just brings back some nostalgic feelings for me. So
Plus, it has Vincent Price in it, Chris.
I mean, that may have twinged me a little bit.
Randolph Carter gives no shits, Chris. He doesn't care.
Randolph Carter don't give a fuck.
Well, Randolph, I hate to disappoint you, but I have to go with Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah.
Because if you put both of those movies in front of me, like, The Unnamable is the one I'm going to pick when I've watched, like, everything else. Just because I've seen Castle Freak already. Fuck.
Yeah.
But this is first. So.
Castle Freak does not have Randolph Carter, though. Castle Freak's better, but it doesn't have Randolph Carter.
Does anyone eat a cat in this movie, Zach?
Not a cat. No, not a cat.
Okay.
Okay, so that means this is a tough one. This is a tough one. You know what? I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to vote for Dead Heat, which means we have a 3-way tie, gentlemen.
Holy
You
shit.
did that on purpose.
I did do it on purpose. For this specific reason. So in that case, to determine an ultimate winner here, we're going to pit the 3 films that won each round against each other. So we have Dead Heat, we have Maniac Cop, and we have... Chris, what was your...
Brain Damage.
Brain Damage. Okay, so Brain Damage, Maniac Cop, and Dead Heat. Those are the 3. There can only be one.
Okay, this is a solid battle royale.
Yes, it is.
but I have to choose Maniac Cop
Oh,
because
shoot.
I regret not even doing it as one of my choices.
Okay. Well, my vote's gonna go to Brain Damage. So where's your vote?
Also, to brain
Three-way
damage,
tie.
no, I can't do that. Fuck.
3-way tie.
3-way tie you got.
Damn it, I have to give it to fucking Maniac Cop.
Hell yeah! I win.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Zach, pick a good fucking year this time. Jesus.
I picked 2004. No, I'm just joking.
This is the part where I reveal that I definitely thought I was going to win the third round, so I've been like browsing years this entire
I'm
last-
sorry,
last-
Chris. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to have a tie for once, just to see what it would be
Fine,
like.
it's fine. No, I've got my years logged for next time. It's fine.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna make up for last time. I'm gonna choose a good year for once. I'm gonna pick 1982. Let's do early 80s. We've done a little late 80s. Let's do some early 80s.
Dibs on Gandhi.
Next time on another Miserable Retrospective, Gandhi.
It's a British man in brown face. It's so terrifying.
So the silence
really is.
the silence you're hearing right now is my co-host trying to look up what horror movies came out in 1982. But it is a good year. Have faith.
Yeah, it's a good year for a bunch of movies that are really well known that none of us are going to pick.
I mean, The Thing came out in 1982. So
Well, yeah, I know. So did Poltergeist, Halloween 3, and Creepshow, but come on.
my co-hosts are already disappointed. I've succeeded again.
Yeah, we might go back on that well-known thing that we talked about a little bit in the beginning of the podcast.
If you guys don't want to do 82, I can change it before we stop recording. We can do this again. Like if you want another year.
No,
No,
we'll do 82.
picked
This is a challenge. This is a challenge.
All right, so it is 82, guys. Deal with it. We are doing 1982. It will work.
Yeah, I'm just going to do Trick or Treat and pretend it's the 86 one and that I got confused.
Before we close things out, guys, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Kris Pistol. That's KrisPistole.
All right, and Casey, where can they follow you?
You can follow me at Lucha Gringo, LuchaGringo.
And Lucia Gringo, what's his name? Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then you can follow me on Twitter at Earth2McFly. That's Earth the number 2 McFly. If you want, you can also follow me on Instagram. Why not? On Instagram, I'm Earth to Zach. Earth the number 2 Zach, ZAK. You can follow me there
Fucking
too.
confusing.
I know.
His real name is not Zach McFly, just so you know.
It's not.
Before they start stalking poor Zach McFly.
It is not. But thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you had a wonderful Easter. I hope you're surviving through this crazy quarantine and being safe. Social distancing, I know it's annoying. But we'll get through this. Hopefully it won't take too much longer. But we're still going to be here, churning out podcasts. I hope we can provide you even the smallest bit of comfort during this madness. And, just take it easy.